Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Just want to say something because, just following the transcripts and everything like that, and we see that a lot of those people didn't have tax-paying jobs. And when I say tax-paying jobs, they weren't getting up going to work where they can file their taxes and either have to pay or get an income tax refund, right? But they were working. They were working because they were gossiping. They were lying, they were cheating, they were stealing, they were doing all type of things to bring R. Kelly to the situation that he's in, right? They were doing all types of things that will cause the public to start listening. But when you start listening to things, you have to be able to go back and research and vet the information right and listen to the real transcripts, not hearsay and listen to one-sided media, because we know that the media is one-sided, but we have to listen to what the transcripts say, right? So if you have an opportunity, get to a channel where they're actually reading the transcripts and they're not putting their personal opinion that in there that can manipulate and continue the saga of lying and making things up and wanting these, I would say, accusers to be believed even more. I'm going to be honest with you. I can never have empathy or sympathy for fake victims, fake accusers. I cannot, because we have real victims that have suffered a lifetime, and they'll never, ever get justice for what's been done to them. So I am not going to support any type of fake victims and fake accusers, because I believe, honestly, that these females were willing participants. They knew what they were doing. And you have mothers out here and fathers that participated in selling their daughters. We call it human trafficking, right? But we also know that there is a human sex trafficking where children are used for sex, and even on the black market. And so we have parents that participated in it, and they ought to be charged. And if they're not going to be charged, then R. Kelly should be set free. He should be set free, because these parents should be charged for the participation, because they participated, and all of them are granted immunity. And then when you look at pay me first, so this woman had her hand stuck up wanting to get paid first, but she wants us and the jury to believe that they were acting and this is what she was told to say. But in my common sense, I don't believe that a 14-year-old is that experienced. I believe it was someone else in the video. Now, I've never seen the video, but just from the transcripts and what was being read and what was being shared from the people that were at the court, I've never seen the video. However, just listening over the years of what people have said that have saw the video, and that they said the original video didn't have audio. So how does this video that the prosecution know the chain of custody has been violated, and Miss Jennifer Bonjean spoke on that, and Mr. Judge Leuenweber, wants to just kind of like make that nonchalant, but we're listening. Our ears are open. Our eyes are open to see. And our ears are open to hear, right? And so we want to hear what thus says the Lord. And the reason why I say we want to hear what thus says the Lord, because remember what I said. If you've been following me, God is busting it wide open. He's revealing everything, and he's going to do it in his time. As I've always said, if you go back to my other videos, he is revealing it for the public to see, and maybe the world to hear and see that God is revealing and exposing. He's exposing it, because the chain of custody has been violated. And you have the prosecution that wants to overlook that the chain of custody has been violated, because they want to keep painting this picture of this man. But nobody is a monster according to God. See, because God created everyone, he formed us in his womb. And God is not concerned with our failures like we are. He's concerned with us reconciling back to him and having a closer relationship walk with him. And so you have these people out here that have played the game. I mean, as I said on Sunday, Lisa Van Allen, we already knew she was of age. She's been exposed for going around lying on every platform that she could lie on, every interview, Vlad TV and everything else. She's lied. She's lied. You have Sparkle over here that's been lying, but like I said, you know, it's public information about marriages and divorces, lying. Then you have, the one that took the stand and she, is going by Jane and some of the stuff that she said almost sound like some of the Epstein stuff, right? Recruiting females, as Virginia Giuffre said, right? That they wanted, what's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell to recruit. And they all were getting paid for the being recruited, right? And the recruiter was getting paid. And then we want to look at the judicial system and we want to go along with the oppressor. And I talked about that before. There is the oppressor that wants to keep oppressing, but guess who they use? Guess who they're using now? They're using black women to continue to oppress the black man. And the black men that are not oppressed, that have risen above oppression and out of poverty, they want to break them. They want to steal from them. They want to extort from them. They want to use people to bribe and extort money out of them so that they can no longer be rich, and they want to put all black men in jail. But let me tell you something. I cannot go along with believing all women. I can't go along with thinking all black men are bad, because they're not. They're not, and God didn't create it like that. He did not. But if you go back to Adam and Eve, Eve was lying in the garden when she was over there hanging out with the serpent, and then told God that the devil beguiled her when God had already instructed her and Adam to not be eaten off of the forbidden fruit, right? So we got some folks that's been eating off the forbidden fruit, knowing they shouldn't have been calling up the man. They shouldn't have been asking to be with him, wanting to hang out with him, chasing him down, accepting concert tickets, all of this stuff they was doing. Then you had the parents putting them in it. Oh yeah, you need to be over there. And majority of them women could not sing. Now, I can't sing either. So y'all saw me on my channel and I've done the commentary and I laugh at myself because I'm not a singer. But what I do know is I have some common sense. What I do know that I'm aware. What I do know is I'm above sitting around believing public opinion and going along with manipulation and easily being persuaded. No, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. And so most of them couldn't sing. Now, there was a couple that could sing. We know that Aaliyah could sing. K. Michelle, she got her music out there. And R. Kelly worked with some groups. Trinity, you ought to hear them. They got a nice CD out there. And he's worked with a lot of other people. But the ones that was hanging around and the parents put them over there, they got to be some low-level life thinkers and low-level. That's what they was doing. Putting their daughters over there that really couldn't sing. And if you heard one of the songs out there from that one Jane Doe number 5, I can't get with it. And I'm not here to bash people. And I wish people the success that they're trying to pursue. I do. But I'm going to tell you something. God will not bless folks until they repent and ask for forgiveness and do what's right. God's not going to forgive that. They will never be successful. They will constantly struggle. And you see the people that are still struggling. They're still struggling. They're still broke. And after all they've done, right? After all of them participating in this situation with R. Kelly, they're still struggling. A lot of them still broke, still struggling, and still out here half naked on the internet and still saying they're victims. And then you got people on certain channels wanting to say they victims, and they want to put all of it on R. Kelly. They want to put everything on R. Kelly. But you can't put everything on R. Kelly. Because, see, when God busts it wide open, he busts it wide open. And, see, I told you the fat lady hasn't sung yet. But, see, let me tell you something. There is some music being played. There are some songs being sung, right? And the truth is being exposed. See, because let me tell you something. The truth don't need no help. And anytime you tell the truth, you don't need to read from a script. You don't need to read from a piece of paper that Gloria Allred had her clients reading from. When you tell the truth, your story is not going to change. It is going to be the truth. Now, when you sit up and some of these people say, well, they just telling their truth. Let me tell you something. Folks can tell their truth all day long and their truth can be a lie. See, let's keep it real. I can come out and tell my truth. My truth. I'm not talking about, God-given truth. Because see, when we talk about God-given truth, we're going to tell the truth. But there are some folks that have told their truth, but it's a lie. And see, just like a smile is nothing but a frown turned upside down, well, the truth ain't nothing but a lie. And we see these women lying so much. And then they say, well, you shouldn't be victim shaming. You wasn't there. I'm not victim shaming. I'm as real as it's going to get, people. These people have not been truthful. And then they've played the game. And there is no reason, not one, that this mother that came out and spoke on the stand, there is nothing legally justified in what she said. They said now that there was no money paid off. There was no payoff. Was there a vacation to the Bahamas and Mexico, Cancun, or whatever, Cancun, Mexico? I may be saying it wrong, but they said that. But the salary was just a regular salary or pay that the guitarist, rest in peace, that he got paid. And when you pursuing a man, a grown man, and your parents is not holding you accountable and they're not asking where you're at and they're just letting you hang out with a grown man and the aunt is over there encouraging you to rub on the head and sit on the lap and okay. And they're trying to say that they was traumatized. There's no trauma in that. There's some young girls that like older men, and I've seen it over and over. It's all over the world where young women like older men because a lot of them get with older men. A lot of them know that the men their age cannot supply their needs like they want. And the way society is, you have little girls, 2 and 3 years old, getting their nails done. Nails done, carrying name brand bags. We could look at, what's her daughter? What's the little girl's name? Cardi B's daughter. Her mother buys her name brand bags all the time. And this is nothing against Cardi B, and it's nothing against anybody can do it. But all I'm saying is that we in an era where we are in a liberal feminist movement era, a Me Too movement, and we know Judge Ann Donnelly is a Me Too movement type of judge. We understand that. We are aware of that, right? And then we have the prosecutors that are playing these games and finding loopholes and manipulating the laws. And that is corrupt. And I won't take that back. That it is 100% corrupt. But we also understand Section 8. Because Section 8 is Section 8. Whether you in Detroit, down south or back east, the East Coast or the West Coast, Section 8 is Section 8. And I've never known Section 8 to protect folks. It only gives you a lower amount of rent, lower amount of money to pay towards your rent. The government pays the bigger portion, and you pay the smaller portion based on your low income guidelines. We all know that, and the lines are long when they open up the windows of Section 8 applications to be received. The lines are extremely long, period, point blank on that, okay? And to give someone Section 8 with a baby, I thought she got married. Does she have a husband? And they need Section 8. I know rents are through the roof, and even trying to buy a house is through the roof. And if you don't have a fixed rate, you got to hold your stuff to try to, maintain. I understand all that. But Section 8 does not cover protection. It does not cover protection. And when you look at most Section 8 when you look at most landlords that accept Section 8, it's usually in low income housing, the projects, and depending on the landlords, some of the projects and housing is slum. It's slum. I mean, my church and I, we got with other churches. We participated in outreach, right, to come into this community that's a lot of violence, and it's a lot of low-income apartments in this actual particular community, right? And this was just Saturday because I do a lot of outreach. I don't film it and all of that. We post it on our YouTube channel and Instagram. We have an Instagram page and all of that. And we post what we do. However, I don't post all of that. I don't feel like I need to stand on the street corner and prove the type of work that I do. So that's just me. So it's no, nothing against anyone else. But however, we did the outreach. We actually did outreach on the 13th with our church and ministry, and we went out and fed the homeless, like I shared with some of you that follow my channel. And then on Saturday, right? And majority of, I believe that whole community pretty much is low income housing. And more than likely, a lot of them, if not all of them, but most of them have Section 8, right? And I happened to zone in one of the apartments that we were going to knock on doors to invite them to the rally for free food that we were giving out. We had music. We had people here as myself to pray, to lead people to Christ. They wanted to give their life to Christ, things like that, right? And I looked and I was like, that's a beautiful landscaping. Look at that yard. Look at how beautiful that apartment looked. And then I zoned in across the street because, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Because it's like I said, a lot of violence in the community over here in this neighborhood that we went in, right? Beautiful. And it was I saw the sign up there of who it's owned and managed by, right? And somebody told me in part of our group that they were something else when it came down to it. I said, well, they're going to be something else because they want their house. That's why their properties are looking like this, because they're something else. In a good way, I believe. Sometimes they can get a little nitpicky, some of the landlords, but I believe before I became a homeowner, I had a good landlord, and he was a retired commander of the United States Navy. And this was a great landlord. Him and his wife were amazing people, kept it up. And actually, my apartment was the one that I was asked to show when they wanted to rent to some of their other properties. That was one of the best. That was actually, I think, the best property that he had. And it wasn't in the hood, but however, and we had some pretty decent apartments during that time when I was in my young 20s and things like that. But however, you can tell the slum landlords, they don't give a rat's behind about people. And then you could tell the ones that care. And so when you're talking about Section 8, not everybody that's low income, are negligent or don't want nothing. So that's not true either. There's a lot of people that just are in their circumstances, but they are trying to do what's right. They live upstanding, and you can tell the ones that care about where they live. You can, because they'll keep their little area, their little patio area, everything be nice and clean. So this is no bash to anyone. So please don't take it that way. I am trying to inform you that Section 8, that doesn't offer protection. Do you see what I'm saying? Because if it offered protection, why is it that the people, and I'm keeping it real, they were afraid, a lot of them, to come out and open their doors. And the church that was hosting and we was part of even told us before we went out that a lot of them may not open their doors. They may not respond because they are afraid because of the recent violence. And over the years, there's been violence, but the recent violence that has been happening. And so we did see an officer drive through with an SUV because they have to beef up their patrol because of what's been going on. And those people are human. They deserve protection like the police. They deserve all of that. And that's what the police and the authorities is there for. But as far as Section 8, it has nothing to do with giving them police protection. It has nothing to do with the government giving them some type of witness protection. None of that. That's what the police is there for. And that's what I was trying to say. The police came through there. They came through there on their patrol. Yes, they did. So Section 8, no, because if that's the case, everybody would have a security guard or somebody standing outside the apartment complex or their door if Section 8 offered that type of protection and security. So I don't think that Section 8 should be offered to anyone to come out and tell their story, to come out and um, be a witness for the government and be offered Section 8. That is federal tax money. And it should be for the people that are still waiting to get it, that qualify, that are eligible for it. And I'm not saying she's not eligible. But what I am saying is the government should not be able to manipulate the system to give Section 8 because somebody says, well, if you give me this, then I will tell the public on the stand what they want to hear. Or what you want me to say, or whatnot. I'm sorry, what you want me to say. And really what most of the public want to hear. They want to hear that, yes, R. Kelly been doing it for 30 years. Yes, R. Kelly is guilty. That's what the public that don't want to hear the truth, don't want to accept the truth, and have too much pride to go back and say, you know what, I could have been wrong. Now, we know Tasha K came out and said, what, R. Kelly might be innocent, but who is she? Who is she? She just a Tasha K with what? So many followers? But I'm not buying that either. Because see, my trust is not in Tasha K's and the news media and outlets and all them other. My trust is in God. And what I hear and see, let me tell you something. I'm not saying that R. Kelly didn't participate. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, if he's in jail, they should be in jail. If he's charged, they should be charged. Or, you know what, throw the whole case out and release this man on time served and let him move on. Because I'm going to tell you something. If I was going through something legally, I'm going to fight to the end if I'm truly innocent. I am not getting ready to take no plea deals. I'm not going to allow the government to enslave me. I'm not getting ready to stand for what they want me to stand for and succumb to. No, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to declare my innocence. And if I have to serve time and if I have to go, I'll go alone. You know what the word of God says. If you have to go, you'll go alone. Because there's a lot of people that's against us that's saying that what is happening is not right. And people are saying, well, you support a predator and this and that. I don't support any predators. I don't condone not one bit of a grown man messing with a minor child. But when you have the parents selling their daughters off, putting them in harm's way, and uncles and aunts or aunts doing it. They said Aunt Sparkle doing it. Putting your children in harm's way. The parents got to have some type of accountability, and they should not be granted immunity. And for the prosecutors that are doing it, they are in violation of some things, and they need to be held accountable. And when this is all over with, they need to be held accountable. Don't vote any more prosecutors in, these district attorneys that are participating in this. Don't vote in any more judges. Matter of fact, we really should be speaking more up, trying to get them off the bench. And this should really go to the Supreme Court, because enough is enough. And when you have women that are in their 80s and 90s coming out saying enough is enough, and it needs to be thrown out because this is foolishness, then you know that folks' eyes is open and their eyes is open, is looking, and their eyes is open to hear. It needs to be thrown out, because this is a mockery of our judicial system to only hold one person accountable for a whole bunch of other folks that broke laws, that were criminals. They were participating in these menage a trois and threesomes, and they were freaking it, right? They were freaking it. And they didn't have a problem with it. And victims, we can say, well, victims heal in their own way. Okay, well, the real victim is not healing by naked on the internet and still out here dropping it like it's hot, OnlyFans page, twerking. And, it's legal to do all those things they say. But yet and still, they are real victims. Real victims, don't heal like that. Real victims do not heal like that from their trauma. Real victims do not come out and do those things. And if they're so traumatized, they try to get away from their perpetrator. They don't want to go back, and they try to stay away from them, right? And when you are a real victim, you do go through some things traumatically, and you need to get therapy and help. And it's a lifetime. You can have setbacks, and you can look like on the outside that you're doing well, but on the inside it's turmoil. You may be feeling like you are a prisoner in your own mind, even though you're physically free. And so, but when you're a real victim, things like we've seen just don't go down like that. Because a real victim is not going to put themselves in harm's way. And, they're going to, want to protect themselves at all costs. And their life is never the same. And they don't keep going back after they've moved on. They keep going back and they asking for money, and they're being taken care of, and they still in love. And the mother there's no legal justification for this mother saying, well, I didn't want her to be traumatized. No, your daughter was still in love. She fell for it, and she wanted to be with this man. And we see it. And you might have been in love too, because there's some rumors out there that y'all was participating in it as well. The mothers. And I'm surprised that the daughters and the mothers didn't get in some fist fights over, Mr. Kelly. And then you had the friend Pinky, and she was they said a year later. That's what the Jane said. A year later she started, and Jane got upset. Just like Azriel got upset, because Azriel didn't like it that she wasn't being the only one. See, there's some scorned women out here, and there's some women that have never received help. And they want to, any man that they say is guilty, they want to go after them, and because they've never received help. But I encourage you women, as I said before, if you are suffering and you have never received the help and you've never got justice, you ought to look into it. Go after your perpetrator and, to try to get the justice that you deserve. And if it's past the statute of limitations, if there's any, because, we don't know no more, almost like some, they say it is and it isn't, or it goes back so many years, it depends on the state, right? So go after your perpetrator that harmed you. Go after them. And I would want to, it's good to have money, and have your pockets lined right and have these fat bank accounts. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I would want my perpetrator in jail, behind bars. That's where I would want my perpetrator. Not settling. I want my perpetrator behind bars. And the thing is, because that if they're behind bars, that prevents them from harming another real victim. That prevents them from harming another real victim. That prevents them from harming another real victim. And you see, I emphasize that because if we are not holding parents accountable, then it's not going to stop, because they have other daughters probably and granddaughters. So what are they going to do when they say, oh, my granddaughter has talent? Let me put her out there again. And guess what? You're putting your granddaughter in harm's way because you have never been held accountable and you feel you got away with it. So all the Ann Donnellys of the world and the prosecutors of the world, Geddes or whoever you are, and these judges, and these liberal feminist movements, and Me Too movement and liberal feminist groups, you are not doing your job, because your job is to make sure that everybody that participated in bringing harm to real victims, and you are not trying to take that money that you have received from honest donors to help real victims and to help them get justice and to put the parents behind bars where they belong, to be charged and put behind bars, then there's a real problem there. There's a real problem there. And we cannot stop speaking out. We cannot stop doing the work. And we have got to keep breaking it down. Some people are going to break it down better than others, but it's not about competition. It's about getting the information out there. It's about breaking it down for people that are surface level or lower level thinkers to be brought up to standards. And when I say brought up to standards, we're talking about people that have above standards of thinking, above the surface, brought up to standards, bringing your level of awareness up. See, because there's some folks out here that have some low level awareness, and I'm just keeping it real. And we need to bring you up to standard. And we need to encourage you. Encourage the ones that have never received justice or help. Encourage them to go get help. Encourage them to report on their perpetrators. Encourage them to fight for their life like it's the last day on earth. And if you got somebody that's coming at you trying to violate you, you got to value you. You have to value you over anybody else that's trying to harm you. And I'm saying that because it's true. You got to value you. I stand on that. But also, when you're telling your truth, make sure it's the God-given truth, not a made-up story just to get rich, not a made-up story just to appease the public opinion and these news outlets, but telling the real truth so that people can help you, so that people know who the real victims are. Because, see, we saw through this stuff a long time ago. See, I never watched Surviving R. Kelly because I said, you know what? It didn't sound right. It didn't look right. Just listening about it. And I said, you know what? I'm not listening. I'm not going to watch that nonsense. I don't have time to watch it. And they're not, if I had to pay for it, they're not getting no money off of me because I didn't believe none of that stuff. Because anytime you decide to go and be with a man that you know is wrong and you shouldn't be with, you made a choice. Whether you 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, you made a choice. And I know that young females are easily, groomed. I'm not saying that what I am saying though, we know, look, even a 2-year-old know right from wrong. When a 6-month-old baby, you can say, stop that. Because there are some babies out here that's smart. 8 months old. I walked at 8 months is what my mother said, walking around at 8 months. Do you know how little I was walking around at 8 months? My mother said I was very smart as a baby, still smart. But all I'm saying to you is, you could teach a child, a baby. I watched some cute little babies on Instagram at different little videos of babies. This little baby, I don't know how old they was, but they took the mother's hand off of the father's hand and kept moving it. And then took the father's hand and picked it up. This was a little baby now. I don't know how old the baby was. It looked like they wasn't even 1 years old yet. Picked the father's hand up. And the father's hand went up in the air. Now he's sleeping, right? And moved the father. And then the baby got up under the father's, and the father, I know he sensed it because he moved his arm to put his arm around the baby. And the baby took the other father's arm and put it down and wrapped it around him. I said, that's some cute stuff there. But babies are smart. Babies are smart. Very, very smart. And there was another little baby, probably over 12 months old, but very young, maybe between 12 and 15 months, could barely talk, but was able to cite the address of where they lived or something, or what city or something. It was, so you know that you can teach children. You can read to them and sing to them while they still forming in the womb. So we know that these young women today, they're not dummies. And a lot of them want their nails and hair done. They even want standards. And my mother shared a story with me a year ago about this young woman with this older man in Burlington. And if all of you heard of Burlington, it used to be Burlington Coat Factory, BCF, but it's Burlington, right? And it's a discount department store. And she said that it was she said the girl didn't look, the young woman, I would say young woman, she didn't look no more than a teen. She looked like, 18, 19? She's with this older man. And my brother said she overheard this conversation in the store where she was saying, are you still going to get my hair done and my nails done? Because you said you was going to get my hair and nails done. So my mother was listening, but she's, doing her thing, shopping. And the man said, I said I was going to get it done. And this was an older man. But he was in the store buying him some stuff, spending his money. He was spending his money on himself. But I guess the young woman got worried because he was spending his money on him and she didn't know how much money he had. So she was trying to count that money, even though she didn't know how much he had, but she might have had an idea, but she didn't really know. And he was in there spending his money, buying some shirts and ties and some slacks and some shoes. And she was getting worried that it wasn't going to be enough money to get her hair and nails done. Because see, a lot of these young women, they already know. That's why, Jane was like, pay me up front. Pay me up front. Because see, some females already know. See, I don't care what you do with that money after the fact, but you're going to pay me first. And see, you get paid first, okay? And so she didn't get paid first. She was one of the ones that didn't get collect up front. See, because out there in the real pimping world, in the streets, they are getting paid first now. A lot of them want their money up front. And they tell you what they going to do. And this is what you going to get for this amount you going to pay. And they collect it up front. Now, back in the day, I don't think they was collecting it up front. And some of these men started running off without paying. And they pimps was getting upset. Let's just keep it real now. There's some real talk. And so now they collecting their monies up front. So this young woman that claimed that she was only 14, I don't know how, I don't believe that. I believe it was somebody else in that video that was much more mature. But anyway, she was collecting this money up front. Because see, even it was but there are some ones that got some moves now. They can move better than you can. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, she was collecting the money up front. She had the hand stuck out up front. Now that young woman in Burlington, she didn't get her money up front, so she was worried about him spending all that money up in Burlington, and she wasn't gonna get that hair and them nails done. But he told her, I told you. But she asked him more than once, according to what my mother said. Now, my mother wasn't CBN. My mother just happened to hear it because you in a public place. And if you having a public conversation is loud enough for the public to hear, then folks is going to hear, right? Especially when they got good hearing and they don't wear hearing aids. And some hearing aids, you still can't hear. And some of them you can hear very well, even better than people that don't wear hearing aids. So she was in there asking for her money. But let me tell you something. She should have got paid up front. Whatever you was doing for that man, you should have got paid up front. And so all I'm saying with this whole situation here, when you go back and look at and go all the way back. Not just, but the second trial where folks lied on the stand, just lying on the stand in the New York trial. I would say that in the New York case, lying on the stand, they didn't get caught up. They got caught up in perjury. They did, but they didn't get held accountable. They still running around naked on the internet, and then went all overseas, right? And stole. That's what we was told, right? Stole some money, and they might even owe some money over in Africa, or they a contract or something. And then they was in their father's porn contract, just a lot of stuff. And why aren't they being held accountable and brought to the forefront? That's why we out here, because we talking about it, because the court system, the judicial system is definitely one-sided. The scale is definitely tilted. And they're not doing their job. And they get paid to do their job. And getting back to that Section 8, nobody wants to use tax dollars to pay for Section 8 for somebody who's not being truthful. We don't know. First you said it didn't happen. Now you're saying it did. And they offered you some stuff so you can say it did. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. And then you still want to be with the man still up into 2019? You was still writing and calling. And actually, you know what? They want to paint this picture that this man was chasing these women down. That man didn't chase not one woman. They all chased him. I don't know what R. Kelly has. I never met the man, never been to any of his concerts. But let me tell you something. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And we can't make right wrong. And we can't make wrong right. Those definitions have never changed. God's word doesn't change. We serve a living God, not a dead God. And I'm not going to participate in the injustice of another man or any man, because I've spoke about other men that weren't black. But I'm not going to participate in that. I believe that this man's rights have been violated on every level. I believe that they violated his due process. I do believe that. And I know a lot of other people believe it too. And I'm not getting ready to just go out like that. I can't do that. I don't go along with everybody. I've never have. I've always been set apart from that nonsense. And I refuse to. And if they ever gave me a platform because, I don't have a lot of subscribers and that's okay. But I would stand and I would tell all of them. And we got some folks out here that say they got degrees, but where did they get them from? Because they don't act like they smart. They don't act like that they know better. And I'm glad Dr. Phil said, no, something don't smell right. And if it don't smell right, especially if you cooking it, you wanted to cook it. If it don't smell right, you can't eat it or digest it, right? Because if you digest it, it's going to make you sick. And if you digest some lies, if you digest the lies, you're going to have food poisoning. You're going to have some toxicity in your body, and you might be sick for a few days, right? That's why you can't digest no lies. Don't digest the lies, because it's going to make you sick. And when you do find out the truth and come out and find out that what the truth is, and God's been revealing the truth, oh my God, you are going to have you're going to be sick. You're going to be sick. You're going to be grieved. You're going to be ill because you didn't want to believe the truth. And some folks not going to believe the truth until something hit them real hard. And then some people going to take the lies to their grave because they don't want to accept the truth. But if you believe in God, we have to humble ourselves. You believe in his word, we have to admit when we're wrong. We have to humble ourselves and say, you know what? I could be wrong. And I want to let my subscribers know I'm wrong. That I didn't vet the information, and I apologize. People will respect you more for that than if you just keep lying and refusing to come out and tell the truth. People are just going to be like, I can't follow you no more, especially when their eyes is open. And God is opening up more people's eyes each and every day. He opened up some eyes on Saturday during our outreach rally. And God going to continue to open up eyes. No matter where you're at on a platform, YouTube, Instagram, God's opening some eyes. Some folks don't want to accept it, but he's opening their eyes. Look at, where is Gayle King at now? Is she wallowing? Is she in turmoil now? That she's seeing the truth? Because this one guy came out and spoke. He was, I think, a legal expert. And I'm sure she had to see it because it was on some news channel. So where is Gayle King at now? See, because Gayle King is still upset that her husband cheated on her, right? See, let me tell you something. These women that are upset that they have been harmed or their husbands or boyfriends have cheated on them, and they just think that R. Kelly is this monster and he don't deserve due process. He doesn't deserve to even his rights to be recognized. He has rights too, no matter what anybody think about anyone. They have rights. Everybody has rights under this Constitution system. We have rights. And whether you like that person, hate them, dislike them, don't believe them, don't want to believe them, they have rights. Rights. Just like you and me have rights. Whether you are the opposite, we have rights. And see, I said this before. R. Kelly may be your enemy, but God loves your enemy just as much as he loves you. There is no difference because God is no respecter of person. And in this Gayle King and all that, they didn't get help. They don't believe a man should be with a lot of different women. Let me tell you something. If the man is with a lot of different women, that's between him and those women. But when it comes to my man and me having a man, I have standards. And if you have standards, you know what your standards are. Some people have low standards, mediocre standards, high standards. Some people are above standards. Some people are below standards. When we talk about, being in supervision or management and you have to do annual evals, you have to look, are they below standards or are they above standards? Let's just keep it real. Since people want to not understand, what's really going on, these ops over here, and they act like they don't have basic common sense. Well, let's talk about some basic common sense. If you're in management and you're a supervisor and you got to watch your people and it's time for their annual eval, you got to see if they're below standards. You got to see if they meet. Are they above standards? And you give them a rating based on that, right? On their job performance. That's basic. That's basic. And when we vote people in office and vote them out and don't vote for them again, We look at their standards. Did they meet or did they fail? When we vote people in office, are they meeting the standards of the humanity of people? For the people, by the people, or are they failing the people? Standards. When your kids bring home grades, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, or college, are they meeting the standards? Are they below? Are they middle, meeting it, or are they above? Did they make the honor roll? Did they make the dean's list? Standards. When you go buy a car, does it meet your personal standards? Does this car have a good track record? Is it a lemon? And they haven't been able to work out the kinks, because you know a lemon is something that has kinks and they've never been able to work it out, but they still put it on the market and sell it. Standards. Does this car meet my standards? Is that neighborhood below mediocre or above standards? The house you're buying, standards. The school systems, what are the standards? When you go shopping in a store, a business, standards. And when we look at the judicial system, are they meeting the standards of the people? Are these judges meeting the standards of what the laws are? Are they following them? The prosecution. See, it's just meeting. It's simple, ops. It's simple. Very simple. Simple. But see, we got to have standards. Just because, there's a superstar out here that got money, but you got to have standards. Because, see, there are some superstars out here. There's going to be plenty of women, plenty of super fans and groupie extraordinaires. Thank you, Kanik, for that. Groupie extraordinaire. Thank you, Kanik. But what I'm saying is standards. Myself, why put yourself in a situation and at risk and then come out and cry victim? Because you know what? What was your standards? Are you going to get my hair done? Are you going to get my nails done? Are you going to buy me that purse? Or you got parents going that route instead of the right route. And sitting up here thinking that somebody can make your child a movie star, a superstar. Everybody is not superstar material. There's no instant gratification, but people want instant gratification. See, most singers that's good singers, whether they're past singers that gone on to glory or current singers, whatever, most of them got it from the mud. They worked hard and they got picked up. But there are some folks out here, they don't want to follow the standards. They just want easy access. And when it don't happen for them, here come the lies, here come the rumors, here come the setups and all of that. Because they didn't have standards. The parents don't have standards. And you got to look at some of their backgrounds. Criminals. Look at the Clarys. See, a lot of times children live what they learn. And they're a product of their own environment. And they lack standards because their parents lack standards. And so I'm looking at standards. I'm looking at the facts. And I always operated like that in management. I didn't go on hearsay. I went on facts. If I was told some hearsay, I looked into it and got the facts. Not sit around and just believe anything somebody says just because they don't like somebody. And see, those people knew each other. They pretended they didn't. They knew each other. Andrea Kelly, if you was a smart wife, you would have made sure. But you didn't, because you wanted fame of your own. But if you was a smart wife, you would have been there for your husband. You would have made sure that he understood contracts, that he was able to read and write. And you would have made sure that you was the queen of your castle and that nobody else was going to come up in there. But see, you wasn't smart. And then you had the audacity to go out on these shows and survive in R. Kelly and play the victim and run around and act like you helping women. And you have no idea how to help a real victim. You don't have no idea how to help a real victim. And said that you was economically abused. Economically abused off of somebody else's money when you're a grown woman. If your kids wasn't being provided for, then I could see if they were economically abused. But you're a grown woman. A grown woman. And R. Kelly divorced you. You didn't divorce him. And you participated in the shenanigans. And God is not going to bless you allowing other women in your bedroom. Trust me on that. See, God is not going to bless no marriages like that because God had standards. From the very beginning, he had standards. Adam and Eve, standards. He had standards. Eve lied. And Adam didn't even do his job as a man. Eve lied. And see, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. But God has to deliver some things from some folks. The spirit of fornication, he has to deliver that. And whatever R. Kelly has to go through to make his relationship right with Christ, if it hasn't got there, I don't know. And I'm not saying it is. So don't attack me. I'm just speaking some stuff, some truth. Then he's got to go through that. And sometimes God will bring tragedy to deliver you from the hands of the devil. So from the hands of the predators. Sometimes God has to take you through things. Because didn't God say go after the sheep? One sheep. If one sheep was lost, missing, we got to go after that sheep, right? God's going after his sheep. He knows who R. Kelly is. God knows. And God's going after the sheep. But sometimes God has to bring situations to get to the sheep. See, when God does things, he does things the right way, in decent and in order. When he's in the midst of it. And so these folks out here that's been lying all this time, see, what you do in the dark, so shall come to light. And see, I didn't mean to be on here this long. But what you do in the dark, so shall come to light. And that's for all of us. So if you operating in darkness, lying and cheating and manipulating and gossiping, you still operating and working, right? But God's working too. And he's working it out on behalf of R. Kelly, and he's working it out. Because, see, we understand God is a fair and just God. He's an honest God. He doesn't participate in gossip. He doesn't bring harm your way. And if he does allow it to happen, it's for a purpose. And we got to trust God's purpose and plan for our life. So R. Kelly, don't give up. Trust the purpose and plan that God has for your life. And for all these other folks that you forgot that there is a God and he loves your enemy just as much as he loves you, but he hates the sin. Oh, you're going to reap what you sow too. Your karma is coming too. It's just a matter of time. You're not off the hook because light and darkness cannot exist together. So with that being said, I pray that the Department of Housing is listening and watching, because nobody federal tax money should go and pay for somebody's low-income housing under Section 8 for them to get on the stand and tell a story that the prosecution wanted them to tell, not the truth, but their story, and that the prosecution should have worked harder with these, fake victims and these accusers out here and false allegations to tell a story they want the public to hear instead of the truth. We shouldn't have to, our federal tax money should not be paying for anybody to have Section 8. To have Section 8, that shouldn't happen. So I don't know what the prosecution told the Department of Federal Housing, but maybe we all should call and ask, how does that work? And maybe we should find out instead of speculating, on some of it. But we know that don't work. But we do know that Section 8 is not giving no protection. We know that. Not that type of protection. They giving you some protection of your being able to pay a lower portion of your rent. But they not giving the type of protection, of authority, or that security. They're not giving that type of protection. That's not what I've known Section 8, and I've read about Section 8 and what it is, and I've never known them to pay for somebody to be outside your house or your apartment. That's not the type of protection. They only give you the protection of paying a lower amount towards your rent, and then they pay the difference to the government, but that's off of federal tax money. And we should not be standing for that. It needs to be looked into. But at the end of the day, or maybe I say the beginning of the day, God gonna do a new thing. Woo, he's gonna do a new thing. And God's doing a new thing. A new thing. Because see, he knows the thoughts. They are good thoughts, and he knows the plans that he has for his people. And when one sheep is lost, he wants that sheep found. And hope that sheep don't get strayed away again from the sheep. And so these folks out here that participated, woo-wee, I pray the mercy on your souls, because the wrath of God, he's busting it wide open. And there's some folks I believe that's shaking in their boots, in their shoes, tennis shoes, Jordans, New Balance, Sauconys, Asics, whatever shoe you wear, Pumas, Adidas, Nikes, you shaking. Stilettos, whatever shoes you, Betsy Johnsons, Christian Louboutins, Aldo's, Juicy Couture's, Uggs, whatever you got on your feet. Walmart's, used to be Kmart, they don't have that around no more. But whatever, Sears, whatever I'm just keeping it real, you're shaking. Some folks is sweating because they're afraid they're going to go to jail for participating in extortion, criminal activity, perjury, lying on the stand to the grand jury, all this stuff, and the grand jury giving immunity. So this jury, I pray you do the right thing. I pray your eyes is open and your ears is open to hear and see, and that you do the right thing. And I'm not talking about in your mind the right thing. You do what God, fair and just. Because I believe that God would just say, you know what? Let the man go. Because he's already facing 30 years. He's already facing that. So anyway, God bless you all. Keep praying for Mr. Kelly. Keep praying for real victims. And keep praying for his legal defense team. God bless you all on the day. Have peace on this day. Bye.